experience, the internet, the ICT interventions has removed physical barriers across the world. You don't have to come to Rwanda physically to explore opportunities. From the comfort of your one small room somewhere with a smartphone, you can do business with people thousands and thousands of kilometers away. We must explore intellectual property. And that is the way to go, more so for our young people, because in terms of assets, land, which used to be those years to be the greatest asset, especially in Africa, is no longer available. Our young people must invest in intellectual property. I want to give an example. In my country, we have a taxi called Uber. The young people who own that facility don't own a single car, and they don't own an office. They have just created a system. Using that system, they are able to pull as many cars belonging to different people, connect the owners of the cars, and those who want to use the cab system to go somewhere. And through the use of technology, money keeps on changing hands, and the company has grown to a very big level. I want to say that in terms of financial markets across the world, there are very many opportunities that our people across the world can continue to exploit. And as we move forward, we must also move away from the traditional way of agriculture and move away from rain-fed agriculture to irrigation because of the effects of climate change. So even as many countries are feeling the effects of the post-COVID challenges, there remains very many opportunities in the tech world, in finance, in international capital. And all we need to do is that with the advent of internet and the ICT options, we want to encourage our people across the globe to reach out. A conference like this one, a summit like this one, is a great opportunity for people to make inroads and get to know what opportunities exist outside their home countries. I'm sure, I have no doubt in my mind that before the end of this summit, some of the young people here who are suave in business matters have already made some connections and they have a new opportunity. So the real opportunity of dealing with the post-COVID challenges is using technology to reach out so that we can explore new opportunities outside the traditional available opportunities that have been put down by COVID-19. And therefore, the world is big, the stage is large. All we need to do is continuously engage. And I'm sure that with that engagement, having removed the physical barriers that people don't have to meet to explore opportunities, a lot of opportunities are available to help us put the world back to where it was before COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. I think that confirms the message that this generation resonates with, that technology helps you to work smart without necessarily having to work hard. Now we'd like to move on to Honourable Minister Mbabazi. Speaking of technology and opportunities, we have this amazing summit that this country has birthed. The question now is, after we have left and we've all flown back to our countries in a couple of days and we wait for the next one next year, what happens in between, and how do we manage to maximize the vision and mission of this summit to truly transform the continent?
Thank you very much, moderator, and welcome back home. The question you're asking is about the way forward, and I want to appreciate our leaders for being present and for the support throughout this journey, whether 10 years down the road and also 5 years of hosting Youth Connekt. One of the main objectives was in threefold, I would say, and that will inform the next steps post the summit. The first one is to influence policies. What kind of policies do we have by having this platform, bringing together partners and also the youth themselves to influence policies that His Excellency, the Deputy President, was talking about, taking their rightful place? It is about policies. What kind of policies do we have in our countries? And so the policies is a major element. Besides being a document that we keep in a folder and you keep it in a shelf, it is a policy that should be implemented and put into place. And those policies are youth-friendly policies that are putting them at the forefront of the development agenda of our countries, but also having them participate fully. And having 30 countries, we follow up through the hub, the Youth Connekt Africa hub, that is hosted in Rwanda, but coordinating 30 countries. We follow up and working with them what kind of policies and learn from each other. The best policy in the Republic of Kenya can be replicated in Rwanda, or the best policy in government of Rwanda that is implementing can be implemented in Zimbabwe or Liberia or any other African country where we're implementing and beyond. The second one is programs. Also, the policies influence programs that we have. And in these programs are youth-friendly programs, especially in skilling the young people with the relevant skills that they need. Also having opportunities of entrepreneurship skills and employability skills. But above all is the dialogue, the intergenerational dialogue. We have seen, Your Excellencies, your leaders, the leaders, your colleagues, taking it up. After this meeting, when they go back, they organize intergenerational dialogue, which is a platform that bridges the leaders and the young people. And they listen from them and they understand, and this dialogue helps them to influence the kind of policies. The third is to expand partners. We started in 2012 when we had only about 4 to 5 partners. Now we have more than 50 partners. And the same ecosystem that we have in Rwanda of the partners that we have that are influencing in the policy spheres of influence are the same that we are building at a country level. So the Youth Connekt country chapter in a country that has launched it, we create that kind of ecosystem and network that supports young people so that we avoid duplication and wasting resources, but instead we create linkages and we have more economies of efforts by producing and doing much more. So post the summit, we follow up. We have many young innovators that are here that are also got awards. We have Youth Fellow, Youth Connekt Fellow, of like-minded young people, a network of more than 100 young people that are influencing and change makers in their community. But also different components of Youth Connekt are implemented at a country level. So when we meet at the summit, we listen from each other. What have you been doing and what else can I do? So when they go back, they also implement.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. So policies, programs and partners, like a triple P, you know. Mr. Gomera, I'll come to you now. And straight after that, I think it's important to talk about policies. Now, as UNDP, you go into all these countries and you do so much work there. But there is the issue of policies, that sometimes you go there with these ideas and as has been said, the dialogue happens. The youth are energized, they go back with passion. Deputy President talked about taking our rightful places at the table. But remember, there are some policies in some countries that don't allow us to take our place. We still have to wait to be given a place. So let's talk about the work UNDP does and maybe some of the challenges that you face where policies, especially programs as well, affect the productivity and the progression of these kinds of think tanks and the ideas that come out of this.
Thank you, Ruveneko. Before I get into that, I must say, Your Excellencies, I'm inspired by your words today. I'm especially inspired, Your Excellency, by your view that Africa and Africans are no longer a people to whom things happen. We are no longer a people for whom things are done. My 23 months in this country have shown me that we are a people with whom things can be done. And our work with young people in this country has shown me that we are also a people who make things happen. So I'm very inspired by that. In terms of the policy work that we do, we are a partner. We as ourselves are not the government of Rwanda. We are a partner to the government of Rwanda. We are a partner to the people of Rwanda. Sometimes in their journeys to look at the world today and say, as you've said, there's a lot of trauma that's happening in the world. How do we make sense of it all? There's a cost of living crisis out there. There's a pandemic. There's everything. We are there to work with governments to think about how do we make sense of this? How do we deal with it? But not just thinking. We are also working with governments to show that we can do something about it. And we've worked, especially in this country, to look at areas where we can demonstrate that actually there's another way of looking at the world. We worked with the government of Kenya some years ago to look into Kenya's energy mix. And it was UNEP which worked with the government to drill the first gas well in Kenya. And right now, if you look at Kenya's energy mix, it's the pride of Africa. The United Nations was there to be a partner. But we also understand that just having a pilot there is not enough. We work with governments to take things to scale. We look for partners. We look for the African Development Bank over there. We look for youth. We look for everyone in this house, the education sector. I was talking to my brother from Africa Leadership University. We work with them to make sure that things get done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomera. Thank you. So that has warmed up our stage, I hope, and I'm hoping that you're all ready to engage with our panelists this afternoon, and we'll take our first set of questions now. If you are ready, we are ready. I'm sure there's a roving microphone that will come to you. If you just raise your hand, and we will be able to take your question. And for the purpose of everyone, just introduce yourself, right? Where you're from, and what you represent here today, and then you can go ahead with your question. So let us open the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, the floor is yours. Okay, I see a series of hands. Just want to check that our microphone is ready. Okay, we can start in this corner here. Gentleman in the white. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Nanaji Maiprempe from Ghana, the CEO of Grow For Me. And first of all, I want to commend Rwanda for conducting the first trade on AFTA, and I think it's a very exceptional achievement. However, I'd like to ask a specific question concerning agriculture and AFTA. What are our governments doing to put agriculture at the forefront of AFTA, knowing that cross-border trade is already happening and we can see much more massive trade if agriculture becomes a critical component of AFTA? Thank you.
Thank you very much. What we can do is we can take our first round of questions, maybe 3 at a time, and then come back to the panel. I think maybe that might be a good way to do it. Our next hand, we can come here. Where's the microphone? Okay, all right, you may go ahead. Yeah. Where's the microphone? There you go. Yeah. You can give him.
Okay. Good morning, Your Excellency. Thank you. I am Abdul Karim Abdul I come from a great and wonderful country in West Africa. I come from Niger, and I congratulate you for this summit, this initiative. I will speak in my language, French. Donc, Monsieur le Président, comme vous l'avez dit, nous ne sommes pas un continent de problèmes. Il est vrai que nous avons les crises sécuritaires au Sahel, dans le bassin du Congo, nous avons connu Ebola, la Covid-19, bref, il y a tous ces problèmes. Mais dans le même temps, on constate qu'on a de merveilleuses opportunités. Je vous invite tous à visiter la magnifique ville d'Agadez dans le nord du pays, de mon pays, ou bien le plateau de Gizeh en Égypte. Nous avons ce magnifique pays de 1000 collines. Ils ont fait de cette géographie accidentée un atout dans l'Afrique du Sud. Et je comprends que tout ça, c'est de belles opportunités pour nous permettre de créer de la richesse, de faire une économie très forte. Mais ma question, c'est que généralement, lorsqu'on parle de tout cela, l'on oublie une partie importante des jeunes, surtout les jeunes de loin les plus discriminés. Je parle principalement de 3 catégories. Les jeunes femmes dans les zones rurales, elles sont très souvent oubliées, elles sont sous-représentées. Je parle aussi de l'Afrique parce que nous ne voulons pas seulement changer l'Afrique. Nous sommes quand même le berceau de l'humanité, nous sommes le pays de toutes les valeurs, le continent de toutes les valeurs et nous voulons changer carrément le monde, mais nous ne pouvons pas le faire si tout le monde n'est pas pris en compte. Comment on fait ça? Merci.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to take one more question from this side, then I'll come over to that side of the room. Lady with the colorful blouse, thank you.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is a very useful room, so I want to just do something very quick. Viva Youth, viva! Viva Youth, viva!
Viva!
My name is Ruth K. Kangwandlovu, and I am coming from the beautiful country called Zambia. Over 60% of Africa's population is the vibrant youth between the ages of 15 to 35. Often we've been viewed as beneficiaries and the future leaders of tomorrow, and less of stakeholders or the partners now. My question, Your Excellencies, is how can we foster for intergenerational dialogue and a co-leadership which invests in the young people now to create synergies to bring forth the Africa we want? How can we begin to build trust between institutions and young people, as well as create shaped successes of our in Africa? I end off by bringing out a quote that Namibia's First Lady, Ma'am Gengos, once said. She stated that the only logical way to manage generational transition is to intentionally groom suitable successors to ensure a smooth transition. So how can we foster for this dialogue and co-leadership? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll close that round now and allow for our panel to respond. And I think we'll start with the first question. President Kagame, maybe you can take this one, because again, at the General Assembly, on this issue of agriculture that was asked by the gentleman, you talked about preventing cross-border taxes, for example, and when you talked about the peace and stability even in the DRC. So maybe you can take on that one about agriculture and why there's so much emphasis on an agro-economy as an African state.
I think increasingly there is light being shed on the importance of agriculture, which in the past had been ignored, but for reasons you can't easily understand, because whatever we are doing here, whatever we are saying, agriculture is a source of what enables us to walk, to work, to do everything we do, because it's a source of food. We need that. So if anyone was imagining agriculture is not important, that was a big mistake. But I think every day there is a realization of its importance. But we have also been helped by the fact that agriculture has had visibility in terms of that not being a source of our livelihoods in terms of food, but also as a big sector of business. It's not just food that we eat or we grow culture, grow crops, and we have different sources of what to eat, whether it is livestock, it is fisheries, and so on and so forth. Now, then we have the land where we have to do agriculture. I don't think there is anything lacking in that, whether it is land or water, or in fact, we've been spoiled by having rains and sunshine, and in a mix that enables agriculture to thrive. And maybe that's why people took agriculture for granted in the past on our continent. But I think, as I said, we are waking up to this fact that we need to invest ourselves more into agriculture. Everything is available. It's a source of food. We need the food systems have to develop, have to grow. That's the future. That's the world over. And then, as a source of business, we have seen how people can thrive on that. Now people are going to start producing, or have been doing so for many years, for export. People can feed themselves and then be able to feed others through that trade and business interaction. That is a great thing to do. And it ties in with the climate change issues, how we take care of these challenges of climate. In a nutshell, the world has come to wake up, and therefore Africa has not been left behind. And I think we are seeing a momentum which we should encourage, and therefore be able to do that. So the point of DRC, what was it?
It was just that when you talked about it briefly at the UN General Assembly, because we're talking about the ease of access, right? And the way that we can, do business between each other as countries.
Yeah.
For example, even taxes. You talked about the issue of Eastern DRC having to reduce their taxes because of the level of instability there is, So those kind of hindrances on our continent, whether it's political, whatever the case might be, there are those challenges.
Yeah.
So it was just to highlight what you had mentioned, but I think you have answered the question,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that is anyway the whole thing. And now that we have the African Continental Free Trade Area in place, I mean, really, we have to be dealing with the production, productivity, then we have the markets, and then the African Continental Free Trade Area is the biggest free trade area. Now it has become the biggest in the world. So all these are opportunities for us, for the young people, to now switch their minds to something that initially had not been so important, but is more important now than almost anything else. And that is agriculture, and now the market through which we can do any trade that is linking with agriculture or anything else is there for us to benefit from.
Sure.
So I don't see really the difficulty, and if the young people tune their mind the correct way and look at all these opportunities available to us, which even touch our own lives, but also touch other people's lives elsewhere, and in between there is a lot of money to make. So what is it that they were waiting for?
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We had a second question. I don't know, Honorable Babazi, if you want to try and take that one from our brother who was speaking in French. We want to make sure that we address all the questions, or maybe Mr. Gomera, did you catch some of it? Okay, what we can do for now is we can look at the one that came last from the lady from Zambia, and we can look at how we can foster integrational dialogue, how young people can begin to put trust in institutions, and how we can be looking forward to succession. How are today's leaders setting up young people for that? I'll come to you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question and a very good insight. The young population constitutes 60% of the population, as she has rightly put it. This 60% can influence and have any decision made anywhere in the world. As I said in my address, it's upon our young people to take the lead and the initiative to assert themselves and influence policy. Policy is lobbied, it is influenced through advocacy and through lobbying. We want to encourage our young people not just sit as bystanders at home. And as I said, I want once more to encourage our young people to seek for opportunities to provide leadership. And most of these positions are elective. And with the 60% of the population, our young people have no excuse at all not to occupy any position they desire anywhere in the world. They have the numbers. It's simply for them to put their act together and decide what areas they want to have influence, and then have a very pragmatic engagement with their peers of that particular age and seek for those positions and applying the superiority of numerical advantage, take over the positions and influence policy. And we need to lobby governments in Africa to create a regulatory framework that is friendly for young people who have no experience, who have no capital, to be able to get into the business world, to be able to be active participants of the economy. But that will be done through lobbying and influencing policy. But that cannot be done if our young people are not organized and are not determined. And I want to tell the participants in this conference, nobody will come for you at home and give you a position. You have to leave home and go and look for it. And please, don't believe that story that you are the leaders of tomorrow. No. Why do you want to be the leaders of tomorrow? Be the leaders of today. Anybody above the age of 18 is an adult for every practical purpose. So why would somebody be telling you when you are 25 years that you are the leader of tomorrow? The young people between the age of 18 and 35 are the leaders of today. Please, please, let the people of President Kagame's generation and my generation not confuse you and cheat you that you are the leaders of tomorrow. You have the energy, you have the brains, you have the creativity, you have the numbers. Please get your act together, and once more I ask you, take your rightful place in the decision-making table.
Love it. Thank you so much. We are the leaders of today, not tomorrow, right? I believe we have some football legends in the house today. Where are they? The football legends. This way? Please may you stand. I just heard. I mean, I don't know a lot about football, but I just heard. Wow. Okay. So this is what you look like off the field, huh? All right. So from our legends, it would be nice to hear from. Wait, you want to come onto the stage? All right. It'd be nice to hear from one of you. That's nice. If we could, thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Anthony Bafo, and I'm from Ghana. His Excellency, the President of Rwanda, His Excellency, the Vice President of Kenya, Honorable Minister, Representative of the UN, dear youth, Youth Connekt, I hear you? It's a great honor to be here. We just created a project which is called The Legends in Rwanda, and to also create the Veterans World Championship. But as you have seen, I'm not alone. I'm with greater, better players, I don't know.
Sorry, I know you're good with your feet, but the way you're on the edge of that stage is making us so nervous.
Are you scared?
Yeah, please just come.
I should come to you?
That's it. Right, come center stage.
No problem. So I'm at the center stage now. That's where I feel at home. I'm not alone. Let me introduce the other legends to you as well. We have African Cup winners. We have Olympic gold medal. We have a world champion as well amongst us. And let me start with him, Lilian Thuram from France.
Wow.
And then we have Kalilou Fadiga from Senegal. Then we have Patrick Magic Mboma from Cameroon. Please come on stage.
Patrick, please may you all come on stage as you're being called
come on
up.
stage.
Yes.
You see Kalilou Fadiga, Patrick Mboma, Lilian Thuram, and then we have the man who is still very good with his waist, Mr. Roger Mila from Cameroon.
Wow.
And then we have a young gentleman. I'm not really happy with him because in 2003, he won against Ghana and they qualified for the African Cup 2004 in Tunisia. Jimmy Kadete.
Nice.
Wow. Yes. This is your own. But you see, when we play football, we always need a team behind the team.
Yes.
And someone also who leads us. And there's a young gentleman. We are here at Youth Connekt, and you see we are all young. And this gentleman is called Fred Siwe. He had the vision with the Veteran Championship, World Championship. His Excellency, on behalf of the legends, we want to thank you for receiving us in this wonderful, beautiful country of Rwanda, who is also has been now like the open gate to Africa. We are very happy to share our experience with you, the youth here. And we don't want you to give up. If somebody rejects you, go and knock again on his door. If you see all of us standing here, we also came from somewhere. Some didn't even believe that we are going to make our careers. But now we are here and we have made our careers. We want to encourage you, the youth, to never give up the fight. And one word I'll give you to go home with after this Youth Connect: there's no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. Thank you, Youth Connect. Thank you, Africa. And we don't want to forget one person. Sorry. In football, you see, you have federations, and they are led by presidents of the federation. So we have the president of the Rwandan Ferrafa Federation, Monsieur Olivier, a very young man. Okay, yeah. And Honorable Minister of Sports, thank you for being a great host to us. Also, former sports lady, thank you.
Thank you to our football legends. Give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. So I'm sure you can see how the young people respond to sport, and you should have seen them earlier about how they respond to music. Just listen to this. Let me see you. Wolololo. Bugao. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. It's a pleasure and it's an honor. Thank you for joining us here today. There are very few things that bring us together sometimes when we're surrounded by differences, and football definitely is one of them, and of course music. So thank you very much for that interlude. And now we're going to continue with our question and answer session, and we're going to take our last round of questions so that we can close off our session this morning. So I'm going to come to the other side of the room that I haven't visited. We can start on this side, okay? Yes, the lady here in the brown dress. Can we get the microphone here, please? And then the gentleman in the front, please. And then, this is so difficult. This is my worst part. I'm looking for a lady now because we heard so much from the men. The lady there in the, yeah, thank you. All right, so in that order, please go ahead with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving the floor. His Excellency, the President of Rwanda, honorable guests, honorable, it's not work. I would like to start with thanking you very much from the deepest heart for the very inspiring speeches that you have given. My name is Tsik. I am from Madagascar, and Tsik is a word that means smile. Because we in Madagascar, we love happiness. As you can see with the delegation here, we are all smiling because we like happiness in Madagascar. I would like to ask you, and would really appreciate answers from you, honorable speakers. It's not working. Very sorry. Thank you so much for your assistance. I would like to ask 3 questions. Very short questions, but very clear too. The first thing that I have remarked in all the speeches, all the things that people have said, that there is a very big optimism and positive thing in all the speakers when they are taking the floor. And I would like to ask you, how did you insert that in the identity of the population? How can we also have that optimism, that positive mind? If you could share with us some keys, we would really appreciate. The second thing is His Excellency, the President. You have always talked about discipline. How, please, if you don't mind sharing with us, how could you manage setting up discipline in Rwanda? That's one thing, but also keeping it. What's the secret? And last, I would really appreciate too if you could answer, for us youth, we have the strength, we have dynamism, we have zeal, we have many things, but people usually say that youth lack of experience. So is there a shortcut to get experience very quickly for the generations that have already reached experience? Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much. Our second hand was the gentleman in the blue suit up front here with the bow tie.
Hello everyone. My name is Ulrich. I'm 24 years old, Norwegian, and here representing the European Business Chamber of Rwanda. When I came here 2 months ago, for 4 weeks ago, pretty shocked when I went to the city of Bigogwe. Now in Bigogwe, I met people that every day rely on crops such as bananas and beans in order for them to live. What I saw was that if these crops doesn't grow tomorrow, there will be no tomorrow. My president goes to His Excellency, Mr. President Paul Kagame. When I was there, I saw something that I'd never seen before. People more happy than I ever seen traveling across over 50 countries in the world. I saw a unique type of happiness. And what I would like to know is how do you increase the number of money coming into this country while still keeping us the happiness of these people? Because what I realized after that is that money doesn't buy happiness. Is there one place in the world that has happiness? It's Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And our last question over this side of the room, please. Is there another microphone this side? Yes, thank you very much.
Greetings from Sierra Leone, the beautiful land of diamond, bauxite, and gold. I am Mayatu Esther Kaba. I'm a radio mentor working with the BBC Media Action. I'm a youth and SDGs ambassador working closely with the Ministry of Youth, UNDP, and Vionet. Hearing from African leaders seated at that stage, gives me so much hope about the future of my continent. I'm so impressed about the great work they are doing towards the empowerment of young people. Madam Minister, you mentioned your strive as a ministry and as a country in improving the lives of young people through using the 3 Ps, which are policies, programs, and partnership. I would like to know, in all of this, is there anything like localized investment for youth, for young people? If so, what does it mean within the context of Rwanda? And what can you say are the best practices to decolonize or deconstruct empowerment for young people across Africa? Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so to close that round, I'm just going to pick it up from the question that we had from the gentleman who spoke and asked his question in French in the previous round. What he was asking was how is government, how are policies going to assist the marginalized, for example, those living with disabilities in particularly rural communities in Africa? That was his question, so we can start with that one. I think I'll give that one to the Deputy President, and then we can move on to this next round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The question of marginalized groups and communities is a challenge across the world. And it all depends on the attitude of the leadership of one society or another. In my home country, Kenya, we have a deliberate policy on people living with disabilities. We have made procurement laws of access to business and put aside 30% of all businesses that are procured in Kenya for the youth, women, and people living with a disability. So anytime there is a tender, 30% of business is set aside for youth, women, and people living with a disability. And that has been a very successful empowerment program for those particular groups that have been marginalized there before. Again, I want to repeat, policies are influenced through advocacy and lobbying. Where in your country there is marginalization, say for example, of people living with disabilities, or young people who have taken over the digital space, shout about it, raise the issues, continuously lobby to influence governments to create laws and regulations that creates an equitable and just society where all people, irrespective of the various challenges they may be having, are treated equally like other people in that particular country. So I think that is something that we ask you as young people, because of your unique advantage in controlling the digital space, is a very serious tool of influence. Use it positively and effectively to fight for equity and justice for human beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Your Excellency, President Kagame, a number of the questions were targeted at you. So we'll start with the first one from Tiki from Madagascar, the smiling lady. And I'll speak to it in parts because she asked 3 different questions. So I think I can go with it, go through it with you. But the first one is really more of an inspirational one, right? She says that you all stand up here and you speak so positively, so optimistically. Where does that light come from? And I think this is really about mindset, right? And how much young people also need inspiration above anything. And then the second part was about discipline, right? And particularly yourself as a leader, what is the secret? How have you managed to instill discipline? And then the third is the youth's lack of experience a hindrance? Is that our Achilles heel? How do we still get a seat at the table?
Wow, this is a very loaded question, but at a personal level, it isn't so much that few things one could accept to take credit for, but many more things seem to happen by luck. But I'm not asking anybody to pursue luck. Sometimes luck also pursues people who are doing things that, and then they are lucky. But given my background, with so much I have gone through at a personal level from the time I was young, maybe from 20 years of age, some of the things shape you. They shape your thinking. But there is a saying which was not coined by me, but by many other people, of saying to walk the talk. What is walking the talk? Walking the talk, I think people are saying, do or practice what you say. So people have to make a choice. We get to hear from people, we learn, we read books, we do all kinds of things. There's a lot of learning through that. In you as a person, you may decide, you make a choice. What person do you want to be? What society do you want to be part of? And you make a choice how you play part in that. You must play part in what you become. You must play part in what the environment around you becomes. Even if you make a small contribution, that will be fine. But you must shape something about you, about your environment. So these are the choices you make, I guess, at every level, every person makes that choice. Or you fail to make that choice, and of course with the consequences. Things happen to you personally when you've made the wrong choice, or when you have made no choice at all, and just sit back and wait for things to impact you. So the question, therefore, the complex of the question she was asking is both, I think, put it at a personal level, but also at a societal level. And so once you've made that choice personally, and that can apply to anyone and everyone here, then how do you interact with the environment to the point that you learn from what impacts you, but you also learn to impact your environment. So there is an interaction. And so the discipline I was talking about, therefore, originates from that kind of thinking, being conscious of your choices and what you want to be, and also the choice of the society that you want to become part of. So that has to do with discipline. There is that discipline of mind of going through this process of making the choices, how you are impacted, what you want to be, but also, and that's how it leads to what the Deputy President repeated so many times, and it is actually very important. It's how do you step forward and not wait for, that's how people wait for handouts. If you wait for a handout, then that's, in the end, that's what you become. But if you step out and go and do things and ask and insist, and, you know, so if you go into politics, like they're saying, from 18 to 25, you are through a process of making a choice, personal, but also beyond you. It's the environment where you are, and that's how people become MPs, members of parliament. And I'm singling this out to say, again, to answer the question of experience. Experience means a broad range of things. Experience in what? Experience is not just a question of time or age. It's also what you are doing in that time. For example, I'm older than the Deputy President, I think by far. But you may find he would do a better job, or he knows a lot more about interacting with, say, society because he became an MP, a member of parliament. A member of parliament deals with the people on a daily basis. For so many reasons, you get to understand what their needs are, then later on you want to go back for their votes, and that explains, therefore, what has been happening between you and them. That is a rich experience you get over time in that particular job that I may not have even when I'm older, because I've never become a member of parliament myself. I was brought up completely in a different environment, which, even though it put me close to people, ordinary people to work with, it wasn't to that extent a member of parliament does. So for me, the environment was completely different. So you might assume, therefore, that because I'm older, I have more experience, but that's not necessarily true. I may have more experience in a different dimension, but in dealing with these people and understanding their needs and daily, sharing everything on a daily basis as members of parliament do, I don't have that experience. Somebody younger, much younger than me, may have experience. So let people not get confused with this issue of experience. Experience comes with the time, but with what you are doing. Yes, so young people can be seen to have experience, even with, let's say, in our cabinet. And experience background shouldn't be a hindrance. For me, I was thrust into government. I didn't know anything about government. And it was like being thrown in a swimming pool when you don't know how to swim, and you've got, to learn very fast so that you save your life. So that's the kind of thing. But that is showing you that experience should not be an impediment. It shouldn't be. The impediment comes when you have not been having this process of thinking and making choices about who you want to become, about what you want others to be with you, all right? So, and again, a question of happiness is also a choice. Happiness comes from the wish to be happy, but also the understanding of your own situation. And if you are working towards a good situation that affects you and driven by the incentive of being happy, then you become happy. And it doesn't mean that you only become happy when you don't have problems. No. You can actually be happy when you have problems. Only that it depends on how you understand your problems and you are able to put them where they belong as you work on solutions. And in between, being happy is the energy that actually bridges this gap between problems and solutions. So you make the choice.
Youth Connekt unauliza. You can be happy even if you have problems, right? I'm glad that you personalized it, because I was going to follow up and say, I'm sure even when you entered politics, when you became a leader, you didn't have experience. And I think what we need to highlight is that we're in a generation where there's not that much room also to make mistakes. Everything we do is recorded. I'm sure if we went back to your life 30, 40 years ago, there's so much that's just lost and gone because there was no one with a camera watching every move and recording everything. So when we talk of the need for experience, it's also because we are afraid to make mistakes because we'll be reminded of them tomorrow, the next day, and the internet these days never forgets. But we can come to our next question, and while you're still on the microphone, Your Excellency, about how to have investment in Rwanda, right? I think that was really what she was asking. It was quite a bit, but reinvesting in Rwanda, but also how do we encourage investment into this country?
Encouraging investments.
Yeah.
Any country, anybody can work on encouraging investments.
Sorry, to localize especially the investment, particularly.
Okay, to
Yes.
localize the
investment, yes, within
Okay.
Rwanda. Yeah.
Okay. For example, the young people we have around. In fact, we have created systems like at from the village level upwards to the district to the provinces. We have identified what is possible around in our country. We have identified the young people with different backgrounds and have always carried the message of encouraging them to come forward to try and do things in the way of entrepreneurship. But alongside that, we have created a fund that is also decentralized to those levels and tied with business. In fact, the private sector, which I'm sure is represented here or present here, accompanies those structures. There's something called a Business Development Fund, which we created. It is to target the private people, the young people who have ideas, who want to develop those ideas. But if what they are lacking is money, there is a bit of money that through those structures that can be provided. At the same time, the private sector accompanies them because maybe somebody has a business idea up to a point. So in the system, there are people who accompany these new entrants into business or who have business ideas to develop them beyond maybe what they thought they should be able to reach. So that is how, therefore, one, business development takes place. Secondly, the investments, the map, the whole map is clear to everyone. And not only do we encourage the local people to make those investments, it is later on what forms the foundation that attracts the foreign investments.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to have our closing remarks, and then after that, I'm going to do something which I'm sure we will all appreciate. But I'll start with you, Max, if that's okay, and get you to give your closing remarks. And also, I guess you can also speak to the comments from the gentleman with the 24-year-old gentleman, and also just give a summary of the questions that have come today, and also just going forward and your position as UNDP, and you can give us your parting shot. Thanks.
Thank you. You know, my first love affair with football started when I was watching Roger Milla mesmerize everybody at the World Cup. And since then, I've not stopped falling in love with football. What he did show us and what the gentleman who came up to the stage showed us was that in whatever field of apples and oranges that any one of you is playing, if you do it well, First, you add to the stock of dignity for every African. Second, you add to the optimism that every African should have. Third, you're doing a good thing for yourself as a person. So you're not doing some charity. And we were told today that actually being successful, you need to go through the staircase, not the lift. And that is important. So two things that I take from the discussion today in terms of how we go up those staircases. First, we are all at the table. What we do need are young people who are asking extraordinary questions of what they see around them. The world is not the status quo. It is not an inevitable eventuality of physics that we are where we find ourselves to be. We can change it, but we need to ask the questions. It was a young Isaac Newton at 23 who asked the question, why does the apple fall this way to the ground and not up to the sky? And that changed everything that the world works upon. So ask extraordinary questions. The second thing is, be kind and have humanity. This is something that we are running short of in the world, kindness and humanity. Whenever we are hiring people at UNDP or at everywhere else, we take it as a given that people are technically skilled, because the fact that you're applying for a job, you must be saying, I have the skills. What we do look at in young people is, do you have the kindness and humanity to be part of a team that is trying to change this world? And that is very, very important to us. And at UNDP, we are proud to be a partner with your government, Your Excellency, and with everybody in this room, the private sector, in changing the lives of everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomera. UNDP Country Representative, thank you for that. Honourable Mabazi, if you could also give us your parting shot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think our leaders have responded to most of the questions, but my parting word is when the young people were asking about the kind of attitude or the trust that the community should have, I just want to say trust is earned. You have to earn the trust within the community. And also, talking about experience, it doesn't require only to be working in a recognized, known, registered organization. Within your communities, you can do a lot. We have many young volunteers in Rwanda that had the kind of experience that they would define, and they supported us during COVID-19 pandemic. So they went from house to house and teaching people how to comprehend or respect COVID measures, and they are contributing factor that we had lesser deaths probably, or the contagious disease. So you can do anything within your community without waiting until you have a position. So influence is not only a position, it is an attitude, it's a choice that you make. So they can do a lot within their communities, and we have seen it. The last one is about the mindset, the choice to be happy. I think you can make a choice to be happy or not. And as His Excellency the President mentioned, I don't want to emphasize it more, that you can be happy even within problems, but with a choice or an attitude that you get out of those problems, they will not be there forever. So young people, the world is waiting to see what you have and what you can deliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Deputy President, please give us your final words for us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I've had about 3 things that have made my day. Money does not buy happiness. I can't agree more. Money is only good in what it can make you achieve, but it's not an end in itself. Happiness is an attitude of mind. It's what you want. I agree with President Kagame that it's possible to be happy when you have problems. President William Ruto and I, as we looked for the presidency, had many problems, but we are smiling every day. It is possible in spite of the challenges of life, because life is challenging. that you can still remain sane and be a happy person, and never let problems bring you down. Because if you're down, you'll never get up. The football legend here has given me something to work on, that there is no elevator for success. You have to do the staircase. That tells us you have to put hard work, and there is no shortcut to hard work. And finally, young people, please focus. The years when you are young are your best opportunity to be what you want to be in life. These are your best years. And if you get it right when you are young, the future is very rewarding. Take full advantage of your youthness, of your energy, of your vigor, of your passion, of your agility, of the opportunity to move around, mingle with other people, and please make the best out of the situation you are in of being youthful and energetic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. I would like now to read a quote to you. Dear optimist, pessimist, and realist, whilst you guys were busy arguing about the glass of water, I drank it. Sincerely, optimist. So this is to us to be optimistic and to always take sincerely opportunist, sorry. We're supposed to take opportunities, right? That letter was signed by the opportunist. So in the age of opportunity, with the small power vested in me this afternoon at Youth Connekt, I have two faces that I absolutely need to indulge. So, Your Excellency, we just want to ask you, if you don't mind taking just two more questions, and then we can close off, because I just feel like if I don't give them the chance to speak, this day won't end well. So there's a gentleman here in the front, and there's a lady who was screaming her lungs out with the denim jacket. If we could just close off with that. Thank you.
Je réponds au nom de Hamid Mohamed Azaz.
Je viens de la République du Tchad et toute cette délégation, il y a aussi une partie qui est là-bas. Je voudrais avant tout exprimer toute ma gratitude et mon hommage à son Excellence Paul Kagame, un président qui nous inspire tous. Je m'en vais poser une question directement à lui, parce que je suis un passionné de l'Union africaine. Je suis un passionné de l'intégration africaine, dont il est aussi l'un des moteurs, la question de l'intégration. Le Rwanda est, excusez-moi, est le berceau de la zone de libre-échange continentale, d'où j'ai effectué mes études de recherche sur la ZLECAf. Monsieur le Président, la ZLECAf est aujourd'hui le plus grand espace d'échange commercial au monde, qui regroupe un certain nombre de pays géographiquement délimités. Ma question est de savoir, s'agissant de cette opportunité que Dieu a donnée pour l'Afrique, quelle est la dividende ou bien la possibilité que la jeunesse africaine, surtout les entrepreneurs, les jeunes entrepreneurs, peuvent en tirer profit de ce libre-échange commercial dans cette zone? Ma question est adressée directement à Son Excellence, M. Paul Kagame. Merci beaucoup.
I think you can get straight into that one, sir, if that's okay. Thank you.
First of all, indeed, it is an opportunity that Africa has arrived at a point where countries can come together to create this vast free trade area. The next step is to make it work and work the best way it should. There are many other things that accompany such a thinking of making a free trade area like that one. You must allow people to move freely as well. And that's why many African countries have been working on easing on different visa requirements or work permits or things like that to allow the Africans to be able to move and work freely in this space. The Africans are working hard at it, and it is the right thing. So that's an opportunity, huge, huge opportunity for Africa. But all along we have been discussing the asset that the youth are to our continent. We've talked about policies that will make it easy once they have made their own choices for them develop themselves, do business, work, and so on and so forth. So for us, the only thing is to encourage that continued forward movement on the free trade area, even expand it more, ever reduce, continue to reduce on the obstacles that impede the kind of freedoms that people have to enjoy in working in this vast space. And then the education, the mentorship, the preparation of the young people to play into this space and to be able to tap into the opportunity it provides is also our responsibility. It may be a challenge, but it is a responsibility above all that we have to exercise, as well as the young people, you know, using or based on many examples and ideas that people have mentioned to us here. So the young people have a task to be present, to move forward, to do what it takes even for themselves, for these opportunities to benefit them.
Thank you very much, sir. And now our last question from the young lady. Please go ahead. Oh, I remember you also from your dance moves earlier. Yes, I do. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon to our excellencies, the President of Rwanda, Mr. Paul, our Deputy President from our lovely country, Kenya, Mr. Rigathi, the Minister of Tourism here in Rwanda, and the UNDP representative, together with everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Ramina Paulette. I am a 16-year-old climate activist and an environmentalist from Kenya. And I am an environmentalist from Kenya. Yesterday, we were invited, many youths were invited by the UNDP for the Youth Connekt Climate Summit. We even made a proposition statement for the youths towards climate action. Rwanda has become a green hub in Africa. How can this model be replicated in most of the African countries, making sure in the process we create jobs for youth? This is a question for you, the President of Rwanda. Now going back to our own Deputy President, Mr. Rigathi from Kenya. With the new presidency, what is your take on the representation of youths and children in such conferences, like this Youth Connekt Climate Summit, and even the ones that are organized in Kenya? For the climate finance, there has not been more transparency on where these climate finance are being delivered. They're not being accessible to many people, most especially from the local grassroots. For me, I am taking the lead towards climate action by advocating for the restoration of Lake Victoria through doing cleanups, using water hyacinth to make products such as this. that creates a livelihood for women and youths in Kenya. Another question that I have, it's now for all the African leaders present at this room. You're going to be part of the climate negotiations, but it's time for us to style up and to advocate for loss and damage finance. For Africans, we have been on the front line of the climate crisis. When it comes to the media, the global media, Africans are not being taken seriously. Our things that are not being covered, like we had floods in Sudan, in Sierra Leone, it's not being covered. For the negotiations, we are not being taken seriously. It's time for us to make this change. And it starts by you, because our voices can only be heard by you and not by any other person. We depend on you. I'd like to take a climate clock to you, together with Ina Maria from Namibia. Yeah? Okay. Taking to the MC. Okay. Just wait.
What's happening? What is this, your countdown?
This is the climate clock.
The climate clock, all right, thank you. Okay, so the climate clock reads 6 years, 282 days, 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 49 seconds. Okay.
So this is for the loss and damage. We still have this year so that we can take part in the climate reparations and advocate for the climate solutions to be taken seriously. Thank you so much.
Woo! Young lady, you are phenomenal. You're 16, shouldn't you be writing your O-levels or something? I mean, you're amazing. And if I had not given her that opportunity, can you imagine the relationship between me and God right now? But thank you for that. I will hand over now to your excellencies.
I consider this more of a statement that was being made to us.
Absolutely.
Rather than a question.
Yeah.
So we will treat it like a statement. A statement emphasizing certain things that need to be done come with climate change conference coming, or issues to emphasize, and so on and so forth. I don't think really there is any question to answer other than reassuring her. Well, first of all, I'm glad she realizes that this is not just an easy process or an easy thing for which you find a solution in one day. However, we have listened to what she has said, and so many like her have said these things very loud and clear in different places, whether in New York at the UN General Assembly or different capitals of developed countries. And it's important that these statements, these voices continue to be heard. So it is on our duty, however, when it comes to us in these interactions, in these meetings, in these conferences, to be able to articulate our positions, taking into consideration those points she has raised, whether it is the climate financing or different activities that people think are unfair or result into the kind of injustice that has been so much pronounced. We can only say we have listened, and we have heard these messages before. We understand their importance, and we shall also try to play our part among so many other actors that are out there.
Thank you, sir. I think that's enough for the acknowledgement and the recognition of that and the commitment that you've been heard, right? Thank you so much. I mean, you came with a whole presentation. Thank you. All right. I don't know if you want to add anything, Deputy President, but I think, as was said by His Excellency, it was more a statement than anything. So at this stage, I think we can close off our morning session. I'll hand back over to our MCs, Makeda and Dave, and Your Excellencies, our panel, if we could close off now. Thank you so much. So thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry, I think the president was just asking me something. What's that, sir? Oh, you want a selfie? Oh, okay, sure. No problem. No problem. Anytime, Paul, anytime.
Okay.
Oh, on his behalf too? Okay, he asked on his behalf too. You're there. There you are. All right, get in there. I'll sign it and send it to you on WhatsApp. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, you may take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our panel. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ravenico, and also to our guests of honor for that enlightening conversation. And of course, there is a lot more to come because, of course, this is only the very beginning. We will now be inviting our